how do you actually put a motherboard in a case?
Hi, I'm Paul, this is Diane, and we are the PC Zombies, and today we're going to put our motherboard, which we pre-built in an earlier episode, into our case.
This is part 3 of a high-end build.
Yes, and on the way we're going to show you a few pro tips. Okay, first I'm going to hook up my anti-static wrist strap. The mats are already grounded. Let's bring the desk up so we can look at the motherboard. We'll start with the motherboard. Here's what we did in our first video. We mounted the CPU, this bracket here, which is going to hold the air cooler. We're using an air cooler because this is a Hello World build. And because it's a Hello World build, we didn't put any SSDs in because we don't want to buy those till we know that the other components work so we can return them inside the return cycle if we have to. We set the switches and jumpers and we put the memory on. So all that's in the first video. Let's start over here with the case. After the second video, we put in the PSU and we took off the back of the case, the top of the case, and the right side of the case. Today, we're gonna put the motherboard in, so we're gonna need to get this glass off and this glass off. This is the NV7 Phanteks case. It is an awesome case, but it takes a little bit of work to get all these panels and stuff off so you can work on it. Okay, in the last video, we already showed how to take the top off, which you have to do before you start. When we're putting in the motherboard, it's good to have the back off anyway, so do those steps either way. Now, the screwdrivers you can use, since we're removing the case and removing screws, you could use the electric screwdriver. There's only 2 screws, this one down here, and these are hangy-downy screws. And this top one here.
Hangy downy.
Yeah, that's an official term. There's another hangy downy. Now we can pull this straight back, lift it, and take out this glass.
Voila.
For the front piece of glass, we have to remove these 2 little tiny screws. Do we need a tiny screwdriver for that?
No.
That's right. Use the biggest screwdriver that'll fit in the screws. And in fact, look at that. It fits like a glove. So I'm using the big screwdriver. In fact, I can use the big electric screwdriver.
Not for tightening, but for loosening.
You got it. In this case, these screws are coming out. They're not the hangy-dangy danglers like the last one. So these screws might get lost. That's the same sort of thing. You pull this towards you and it comes right out. But before we do anything else, we're going to put these screws back in. This time we use the manual screwdriver so we don't over torque and strip those screws.
That's great you're doing that.
Yeah, by putting them back in, we won't lose them. And when we put the case back together in the future, we won't be going, where did that little screw go? Next, we're going to have to take out these RGB strips. There's 2 of them. This top one is pretty easy. You just shift it over to the right and it comes right out.
Oh, nice.
The bottom one's a little harder. We have to start on the back of the case. Let me flip it around. Okay. You see this little screw here?
Which screw?
Right, this one right in there. Now that one comes out and stays out. It's not a dangler. So we're gonna have to put that back in. On the other side of the case, with this screw out of the back, we can now, it kind of slides down and out for this one. These little standoffs here and here go in these holes. That's why you have a screw on the bottom, because it does, gravity's kind of working against you without the screw holding it up most of the time. Now, this little screw actually would never go back into that hole because it goes straight through the hole and screws into the actual RGB light. So to save losing this screw, you want to screw it back into this little RGB light. And then when you store these, be careful because this has little pins on it. You don't want to bend those pins. Okay?
Okay.
For working on the front of the case, you want to have good access to it. The easiest way is to set it up like this. So now I have direct access to the motherboard to this front area. I could put the motherboard in and I could start working on it. I'm going to be working over there, so I'm going to turn this all around and you could stay there and film from in front of me, okay?
Okay.
Before you mount your motherboard, sometimes you have to mount an I/O shield first. Look down here. This is the I/O shield, this little plate on the motherboard right here. This one's mounted to my motherboard, so it's not an issue for me. But on some motherboards, you have to mount the I/O shield where it comes out once the motherboard's in, and that'll be right here. If you have that kind of motherboard, mount the I/O shield first. In our case, we don't need to do that, so let's just go right into it.
Okay.
Now for that standoff tip that I was going to give you guys. Sometimes you don't realize it, but you may have an extra standoff on your board that you need to remove. In our case, if there are standoffs, these are standoffs, these little things, what they're called standoffs because they kind of stand up the motherboard off of the rest of the hardware. Because you don't want shorts. You don't want any metal touching any part of the motherboard other than where it's expected, like where you're putting a screw in. In this case, it's an ATX case. There are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 standoffs. Now those 9 standoffs are going to have to correspond to your motherboard. So let's first orient it so the I/O shield is in the same orientation as the computer, and I end up like this. In this orientation, I see 1, 2, 3. So you're a little closer on this side than that side. 4, 5, 6. So I've got those screw holes for that. I see a screw hole here and a screw hole here, but under this little plate here is an SSD. When we flip over and look at the bottom of the motherboard, we know we got the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 screws. 1, 2, 3 here. There's one right here, but that isn't accessible. And maybe if I take off this SSD cover, maybe there's a way in there. Maybe underneath here, aha, I get access to that standoff underneath this. So we have to remove this part to get this motherboard and this computer correctly.
I get it.
If there wasn't something there for the middle standoff, I would have to unscrew the standoff from the case and mount the motherboard without it. So let's put the motherboard in. I'm going to leave this unhooked. We set down the motherboard gently on the standoffs. Try to aim to land on the standoffs. So I could see that corner one. So I've set it down gently on the standoffs. I'm going to start back here. So where do you think those screws were, Di, that mount the motherboard? They weren't with the motherboard in its box.
Nope, it came with the case.
Yes, the same as the PSU. The case, the screws for the standoff come with the case, so that those screws will work with the standoffs that case comes with. Makes sense, doesn't it?
It does.
All right, let's get those. These are the parts that came with my case. The manual, which is an awesome manual, and I already know I've had to do this for the power supply. At the beginning of it, there's a list of all the parts. It's on page 8. In the case of motherboard screws, they have a little tiny, it says motherboard screws. They have a little tiny like washer built into it. So let's look for those, Di.
Okay.
It looks like
Wow, they're tiny.
they are. And it looks like all 3 of these kind of have a little tiny washer on top. But which one are they? Oh no, this doesn't have a washer, so it's not those. It's either these or these. Which ones? I don't know, but Di just pointed out a second ago, there's 34 of these. And I counted these, and that's the bigger one. So these are my standoff screws, and I need 9 of them. So let's get 9 of these out. 1, 2, 3. My big hands don't do this time. 4, 5.
Use your screwdriver as a magnet.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Man, you got all kinds of help today. Whoops. Okay, I got them all.
Too many.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, it's a perfect grab.
Oh, wow.
All right. Okay, we got the 9 screws. We know the big screwdriver is what we're going to start with, a little one if we have to. We will not be using an electric screwdriver for mounting this. We do not want to torque that motherboard and break some. Okay, so let's start putting in the screws.
All right, I'm ready.
Fit in the big one, that's always the best. Yeah, it fits in the big one. I got a little magnet on my screwdriver, makes it easy to hold while I'm putting it in. That's a tip that everyone should have. I'm going to start with this far back one. I'm not going to torque it all the way. I'm just going to go till I feel resistance. A little bit of resistance, I'm stopping. Now I'm going to do a star pattern. The star pattern keeps them all even. Just go until you feel resistance.
Star pattern's opposite ends, right?
It's opposite ends, and then we just keep working back and forth until we get done. But by doing a star pattern, by doing this side and this diagonal, we know we've now lined up all the other holes.
Oh, yeah.
Another tip is you could just pick up a screw one at a time with the screwdriver like we did out of the case. That makes it a little easier to grab them. So this side. Okay, everything has resistance. So at this point, I could just barely firm these up. We don't want them too tight because we don't want to break the motherboard. So just go till you feel good resistance. Go all 4 outside corners first, because the hard part here is you don't want to miss a screw. Done all the outside corners. Now I'm going to do the middle. Now I know I have 4 left because I've done 5. All 4 outside corners in the center, 4 left. These cross ones. And that way I don't ever miss a screw while I'm snugging them up. A little bit different kind of a pattern at the snug up part.
Is that it?
Yeah, get back over here. I'm going to show you one last thing, okay? You don't need the camera.
Okay.
Die, the last step is just to make sure that you used all your screws. So we had 9 out, we got 9 in, we know we used all the screws. That's why it's also good to count out your screws before you start. If you're taking them out of the box, from the case box one at a time, you may not know that you used 9 screws.
I agree.
All right, stay tuned. We're gonna continue this build all the way up to a custom water loop. This is gonna be an awesome build. Please subscribe.
Thanks for watching, and please give us a thumbs up if you liked the video.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.